All right, guys. Dreadnock's back today with another review, and we're going to be looking at the NECA Heroes of the Storm Illidan the Betrayer. Great packaging there. Comes in a clamshell, very reminiscent of the Marvel Legends Toy Biz figures, so I like that. Looking very cool. I haven't played much Heroes of the Storm, but I was a huge World of Warcraft player, so I'm loving getting this character. Let's take a look at the packaging, and you can see here on the back some more Warcraft figures coming down the line. There's Arthas there in the middle, and then also available in this first wave, it looks like Nova. So we'll get a closer look up here at the bio, and you can pause that if you'd like to read it. So let's crack this thing open and take a look at him. And just a closer look, as we open the package, you can see the weapons here are attached in small bags, and then there's several twisty ties holding them in here. So we'll get those off and take a closer look. And 3 twisty ties later, and here's Illidan Stormrage, the Betrayer, out of the package. And I gotta say, you are not prepared. This thing is absolutely amazing. NECA did a super job with it. I'm just really impressed with how wonderful this came out. Lots of detail, lots of great paint apps. The sculpting just looks amazing on this figure. So let's take a closer look. And as we get a closer look at the accessories here, the weapons, you can see a lot of detail went in here. I mean, I'm really loving this shade of green used. I think it's absolutely perfect for the weapon. And it just came out great. This detail and lines. And here, the paint they used, it's almost aged looking. It's like a black inlay in here with, I can't tell if it's a gray or brown, and I don't know if the camera picks it up well, but it's almost dry brushed over it, and it just came in really well. It's well sculpted and just awesomely painted. I'm loving the shield part of it here. I love this shimmer and this gold they used. I think it came out really well. Some nice line work. Loving that red used in there. Just looks wonderful. The black here, and then as we look at the back, you can see the sculpting went through and through. They didn't cheap out here at all. Same amount of paint used in this line work, and it just looks great. And they even sculpted the handle in here, which really wouldn't be seen. So I think that's awesome that they went to that extent. And then I love that shade of brown. It just looks great. And of course you get 2 of these. You can see the other one here. And both of them look the same. They match out really well. Same amount of paint. They just great job they did here. I'm just super impressed. I can't say enough about them. Also, it comes with a ponytail piece here that's separate, and I'll just show you how that attached. And it easily pops out as well. But it's just on a notch there, and it just plugs into this hole on the back of his head. And it's a little tricky. A little tough at first, but once you get it in, it's very firm. It's not coming out unless you're forcing it, and it looks great on there. So awesome job they did with that. And as we take a closer look at the figure itself, you can just see all the intricate detail that went into the sculpting here, and I'm just really impressed. I can't say enough about these paint apps. You can see the detail in the teeth that are sculpted very well. Looks like a gray wash that went over them. It just looks amazing. The blindfold with the black wash that went over this, and the amount of detail in it. The face sculpt itself I really love. I think they nailed it. It just looks perfect. Just amazing work all over. Look at the hair, and I'm liking this purple wash or purple dry brushing that went over it. I think it came out great. I love how this detail in here is sculpted, and then the wash or whatever over it. And as you look through the ponytail or whatever back here in the hair, that same purple that goes through and through. And I'll pop that off so we can see the back here. Just looks great. And this hair's kind of a bendable material, and you can see even paint back here, underneath. A little bit of rub, looks like some dirt on the back here. I'm not sure it came like that. But if that's the only thing that's a deficiency on the figure, then hey, it's a win. And the same thing, the paint under there, still there. Great sculpting in the ears, in the chest. Love this amount of detail that went in here. And then of course this paint, the shades of green used. I love the line work around it. With the darker green and then the metallic green that looks, like it's glowing. You know, it's just awesome, awesome work. You know, all the way through the chest. One complaint I might have is the shade of purple gets a little bit off in this piece here. You know, it kind of matches the hands, and then it's a little bit darker, but really, you know, I'm really nitpicking at that point to find something wrong. And of course, that same green paint that goes through here. And there's another little spot with, you know, like some dirt that matches the one on the shoulder here. But I love that sculpt work in the arm, the hands, even has fingernails in there sculpted in, and you can see some shading in here as well, you know, with a darker purple, and of course in the chest as well. You know, it just looks really great. And the belt, you know, I'm loving these colors that he used, this dark green with the gold and the red. You know, just awesome, awesome colors. Just green on the back, and then that orange used under here looks really great, and just the sculpting itself is just, you know, really awesome. I love the sculpting that went into this part, and then you've got that yellow or brown, you know, overlay. You know, just came out great. You know, more paint back here with the gold. You know, looks awesome. And then through the legs, you know, I'm even more impressed with the stitching. You know, all the stitching, the wrinkles that are sculpted in here. And this too is pliable, so you can look under here. You know, it just looks absolutely stunning. You know, and then the colors they use for each stitch as well. You know, just a little lighter shade of brown, which came out great. And then that same work we saw on the belt down here at the bottom of the pants. You know, you see some sculpting in there where the pants look ragged. You know, which is great. And then there's some darker shading and the wrinkles here on the back, which looks awesome and goes through, you know, underneath the knee here. And the pants actually have lighter spots in here and then get darker here and then down in the wrinkles in here to give it a shadowing effect, which I just think is awesome that they went through that much trouble. And then of course the brown and yellow down here, and then there's his toes, you know, Illidan toes, and they actually did give it some shading. The toes are actually a darker purple than the foot itself, so you know, I think that's great. And there's the bottom of the feet, you know, even some more paint it looks like here to give them just a little more detail, and then peg holes down here. And as we look at articulation here, the head will move down this much, which is a decent amount. It's hindered by the hair moving it back. You can see it's got some more give in there, but the hair's, you know, keeping it in place. You know, it will rotate around, and if you're willing to move this hair, you can actually get some great rotation out of it. We'll turn all the way around pretty much, you know, like that, which is great. And love that pivot it has in it. So just really good range of motion on the head. Upper arm will move out, and both these joints are really tight. You can see this one will actually move out farther than this one. You know, it feels like you're forcing something if you try to move it anymore. But these are the two joints that scared me the most. They were the ones that were tied out of the package. Everything else seemed, you know, fairly easy to move. But just be cautious with these two shoulder joints. The arm does rotate around, and good range of motion there. It does have upper arm rotation. Doesn't really rotate backwards, but it does rotate forward, like so. So that's nice. Has single jointed elbows. You know, I would have liked to have gotten double jointed elbows. It's not quite 90 degrees, but you know, I'm not going to complain there. The hand is on, I can't tell if it's a ball, but it has complete range of motion. It does rotate around, and you can do roll of the dice. You can do it back and forth. So I'm liking that hand articulation. Really nice there. It does have ab crunch. Doesn't really crunch forward very much or back, but there's a little bit there, you know. So that's nice. And it does rotate there. No waist rotation, but you have rotation there, and that works pretty good. And then looking at the legs, they're on what looks like a ball up in there. So it does have some rotation at the upper leg. You get a little bit out of that. Doesn't really move forward a whole bunch. You can see there, you get about that far forward and about that far back. It does have double jointed knees, which I thought was really cool. and it can get some great range of motion on the knees there. And then on the foot, I can't tell if that's on a ball, but it has, it's kind of like the hands. It has a complete range of motion. It rotates around like so, and then it does have, it can rock, so it has a rocker, but it also kind of has a swivel to it. So, just great range of motion on the hands and feet there, and really on the head as well. So, liking the articulation overall. And here's Illidan next to his DC Direct counterpart from a few years back. It's kind of the demon version or whatever. And, they don't really scale well together. Our NECA version is measuring in a little over 7 inches to the top of his ponytail, and he comes in probably a little under 7 inches to the top of his ears. One thing I did notice, though, that I thought was kind of neat is the weapons actually do scale well together. And you can see there, they're almost in sync with each other. It would be cool if you could swap these out. The only thing is DC Direct had a different system for these. You can see here the handles actually was mounted to the figure, and these just popped on. But it wouldn't be very hard really to just put a dowel in here or a piece of plastic, make these actually work where you could use them and swap them out. You can see how well they scale together there. And the way they fit in his hand is they just, go in on the handle, and they actually fit really snugly. So probably a dowel or something in here, and you could probably use these as well. And I think there's another version of this figure out there with a different paint scheme that may actually have different color weapons that could be used also. So, I thought that was pretty cool. And here's Illidan next to a Black Series Stormtrooper. And I gotta say, I know Illidan's taller than this figure, so they don't scale perfectly together. But in my mind, Illidan should be taller than this figure or this character. So, I'm really digging on it. I'm thinking this guy's going to look awesome with some Marvel Legends displayed. So I'm really liking how they scale. And that wraps up my review of Illidan the Betrayer here. And I've got to say, NECA just hit it out of the park with this figure. I'm absolutely stunned by how amazing this thing turned out. I've got to recommend this figure to anybody. I found this one at Movie Stop, and I'm sure GameStop is selling them as well. It's the only place I was able to locate them, but you guys, if you can get it online, at the price point for this figure with the amount of detail and sculpting in it, you're paying virtually the same price for Marvel Legends, and I think this is a hell of a lot much better deal with what NECA gave us. I honestly have a whole new respect for NECA after buying this figure. I wasn't sold on them with some of the other figures that I've collected, but they just did an absolutely amazing job here. The paint, the sculpting, the detail, even the articulation. I would have liked to seen double jointed elbows, but other than that, I really can't say I'm unhappy with the articulation at all. And I just love the sculpt and detail in this figure. I think it came with the right accessories, and I love the scale. I also love the scale as well. So, if I had to give it, something I was going to nitpick, it would probably be, the 2 spots on the back that look like dirt, and I'll probably try and clean those up, and that's really about it. So, that wraps up my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Still trying to build an audience, so please subscribe, guys, if you like what I'm putting out. More content coming. Facebook, Twitter, and Toy Art descriptions in the, links in the description below. So check those out. And appreciate you guys so much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Hercules versus Illidan, round 1. Fight!